Welcome to Safety Talk. Personal safety expert Pete Canavan shares his insights and interviews experts who provide simple and effective tips, techniques, and technologies to keep you safe and secure both online and off. Here's Pete.
Hello, and welcome to Safety Talk. On this show, we discuss and bring attention to a wide range of safety and security products and solutions that are available to both businesses and individuals and protect people in the digital world as well as the physical world. I'm your host and personal safety expert, Pete Canavan. As a self-employed information technology consultant since 1995, and also as a martial artist for almost 25 years, I bring decades of both online and offline experience to my role as the host of the show. To learn more about myself or how I can secure your business and educate employees or speak at a conference, you can always visit my personal website at petecanavan.com. So thanks so much to our listeners for being here. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast. You could also check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at safetytalkvideos.com. You get the latest information about safety tools, tips, and technologies. And of course, we appreciate you helping us spread the word about Safety Talk and our great guests and products, and sharing your social circles as well. We need to all work to make this world a better and safer place. So today's guest is a world-class expert on telecom, cyber, optics, and nanotechnology, and he's also a member of the 5G Global Standards Security Committees. He has published over 40 research papers and holds over 7 patents. After decades of using the mobile network to attack, Professor Dror Fixler crossed sides and started his company FirstPoint Mobile Guard, along with his partner Adam Weinberg in 2016. Their company, FirstPoint, secures any mobile, IoT, or Internet of Things device anywhere against cellular network attacks. And it does this seamlessly, does it unobtrusively. I was reading some of the technology and how it works. It doesn't put anything on your phone. It's pretty interesting stuff. So we're going to be talking about that. And of course, with new technology comes new threats. And that's why I'm so excited to bring him on today's episode of Safety Talk, so we can learn more about FirstPoint and how it can increase your security and your safety as well as that of your company. So with that said, it's my pleasure to welcome Professor Dror Fixler all the way from Israel to Safety Talk. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Hi, Pete, and thank you for hosting me today in your show.
Absolutely, absolutely. When I saw the information come across, I said, wow, this is some neat stuff. I took a look at your website, and we'll bounce over to that a little bit later.
Totally not updated. I have more than 100 papers. I don't know when I had 40 before I finished my PhD, I think. And I hold more than 12 patents already issued and some few more issues. So maybe double the numbers.
All right. He's twice as good as we think he was.
Divided by 2.
Excellent. Excellent. So we'll take a look at your website. For those of you watching on YouTube, you'll be able to take a look at it. We'll talk about that a little later. If not, if you're just listening to this, we'll give that information out. It will also be listed in the show notes, so you can take a look and learn more about that tech. And we're going to get into that in a bit. Our last episode was from South Africa, and now today we bring our listeners to Israel for Professor Dror's expertise. So I can say, I guess, that Safety Talk is getting increasingly global here. So thanks for joining us again. Now, as I mentioned in your introduction, this company that you formed here with your partner, FirstPoint Mobile Guard, it protects mobile networks and basically everything from the older 2G technologies all the way up to the latest 5G technologies from cyber threats. So maybe if you could give us kind of a bird's eye view of that, of what that company does. We'll dive into some details and get some background there.
Sure. Thank you for this opportunity. What we are doing, it's not protecting the mobile network. The mobile network need to protect themselves. We would like to protect the devices, the users that are using the mobile network. And we are talking, no doubt, about mobile phones, but not only. In these days when the 5G becomes reality, and in Israel we have all over non-standalone 5G, but few area. We already have standalone 5G. We have more and more LTE, narrowband IoT, that lead to connect all critical infrastructure to the cellular network. And in order to prevent any kind of harm to all citizens in the country, in the globe, we need to protect this kind of connection. So the network, it's not the issue. We are protecting the devices that using the network. And in order to do that, we have a very unique way. Regularly, people trying to add some antivirus, like we have in IT, trying to have special devices that you are not using a Bluetooth or not using the Wi-Fi. This is correct way to react, but there are some specific devices. It's not working because you want to bring your own device, BYOD.
Right.
In addition, all kind of software that you have on your device, you need to have operational system. You need to have an OS. There are a lot of devices that have no OS. If you are going to the IoT device, no operational system, so you cannot execute any encryption, any ciphering. It's almost impossible. And most important, when you have an applet on your device, it slows down the CPU and it's used your battery. And when you are getting an email, it's scanning the files, not allowing you to get the results. It's annoying. FirstPoint, providing a comprehensive solution to all type of attacks that I hope that we will discuss soon, the different angles and different ways of this attack, that taking your device without touching it, without adding any software, but network-based solution. We are protecting by hiding your real ID. We will talk about that, about the Imsi, International Mobile Subscriber ID. Remember this name. And all the components around the network that screening all things that comes in and goes out without interfering the device work. So if
Which
you
is
want,
incredible. I was reading about that and how it anonymizes the device, and that's really the secret, because if a hacker doesn't know whose device they're trying to hack into, it kind of stops them right there because they don't know who they're looking for, really.
This is great start to discuss about anonymity, because this is the first patent or first point that already granted globally on US, Europe, PCT, and the rest of the world.
So what got you into this into the background here? How did you get into telecom and cyber? What's your background initially?
Let's go to the background and then let's go back to the anonymity. Please keep in your mind, Pete, the anonymity. It's something very interesting to our audience. Absolutely. So my background, I'm a technical guy, as you can guess if I'm writing papers. So this is my hobby. I am part of the 3GPP and GSMA standards since 2000. The way that I arrived there, as you know, Israel is a unique country. We are one country with interesting neighbors in our neighborhood. And if they could, we will not be here. And there is something that they are not touching us for some reasons, and one of the reasons is the technology. Someone hears the news today, it's published, and a huge SIGINT ship at the ocean was blocked, hacked, due to their twice Iranic ship to intercept signaling information. It's a Middle East. And at this year's, I worked, we have a new wave of international switch operator, building a lot of switches for international calls. We are talking about 95. It cost a lot of money. It cost a lot of money to call out of Israel. And I established a project that you get a free calls if you are hearing advertisement during the call.
Okay.
Free calls for advertisement, so someone else paying for you. It was very niche audience for people that have a first relationship over the sea between age of 25 to 40, something like that. And it works very well. But I start work with international switching carrier. We are talking about SS7 of this year, signaling system number 7. And when I worked there, I faced a new challenge that came from the intelligence group of the Prime Minister office in Israel to try to find terror activities based on these SS7 links. And since then, for 10 years, from 2000 to 2010, I was part of the SIGINT group in the Prime Minister office in Israel. And for many years, I was from the bad guys. I tried to find location of people. I tried to listen to their calls, interception, location tracking based on IN, Camel, later on of the years when it's arrived, Camel phase 1, 2, 3, and many projects that deals with borders, Route 16 in Israel, the Egypt border, before we have real elements that block people to go in and out.
So you were trying to figure out, how can I sort of figure out where people are, and how can I listen in
we are talking
help develop
about
technology to combat that?
Yes, GPRS. And since then, we have in Israel 3 big operators. One of them, it was partner Orange in these days, and I became a candidate, a presenter of them in the 3GPP and GSMA, from the UMTS, LTE, as well as 5G. In these days, I'm part of the quantum encryption algorithm at the 5G standardization. There is a new standard that I'm on charge of that.
Nice.
It's 4G. If you have time and you want to hear a nice story, I was part of the mobile payment project, Pay by Mobile. I was in this standardization team, and I had an amazing patent that will become public, and the Northbridge, American VC, bought it. And I won in the competition of the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona 2007 with this patent in the first place. All VCs, awesome. Visa, standard line. We can talk about it in different talk. Why in these days I'm not believe that mobile payment will happen, and security, it's one of the tips and the things that need to be considered there. And since then I'm very deep involved in intelligence and SIGINT.
That's awesome. And you teach in Israel as well, and so you're educating others on what it is that you do and your expertise, which is awesome.
Yeah. And in 2016, I analyzed that there are many ways to hack us, but not really comprehensive solution to protect. You have some kind of protection, mainly on malwares, on software on your device, but against Imsi Catcher, rogue base station, man in the middle, interrogation of data, of location, there is no solution. Denial of service of smart meters, electricity meters, water meters, no protection. What you can do, there is a noise on the air, you have someone that tried to catch you, and more than that, there are 2 countries in the world in these days, Pete, you will tell me later on if to say their names, that if you are roamer there, each 20 minutes, they are hacking you. They are checking where you are and recording your calls and recording the data. Most of the data encrypted. They cannot understand what it's inside, but everyone is capturing data. Maybe later on they will find the way, the key to encrypt the data there. Right. But it's happening all the time in these 2 countries, each 20 minutes. No one can protect you.
That's unbelievable. And I've read too, and I've gone to some of these different security conferences and seen amazing technologies where you mentioned like quantum encryption. I saw a company a couple of years ago that developed that, where it uses a radioactive isotope to generate the quantum encryption, because there's a unique signature that exists in nature that can't be duplicated. And so basically you can't, it's all basically ultimately secure. And then of course, with the Internet of Things, Professor, as you said, they're very, very vulnerable to attack because the security around those devices is minimal, if at all, but yet they're connecting to everything. So if a hacker or a bad actor is able to come in through a very insecure device to gain access to the network, well, now they're in. And so it's scary because our lives are completely electronic and digital, and we connect to networks without thinking about it because we need to get information, whether it's our email or social media or text or phone calls. And as you say, they're capturing data, which maybe they can't decrypt today, but down the road, a year or 2 from now they'll have the technology to be able to do it, whether it's through some sort of quantum computing that's going to be able to generate the ability to decrypt things or what. But it's scary, and everybody has to understand that, our biggest vulnerability, in my opinion, because as I mentioned it earlier, people know, I deal with security in the digital space and also in the physical space. But to me, the biggest threat to everybody today is definitely in the digital space. And it's not that there isn't, problems in the physical world, and we don't have to be careful and watch ourselves and be aware and all of that. But we're much more exposed digitally. Our lives are out there for anybody to see. And that's a big problem, and people don't think about it as enough, especially, younger people that have grown up with it.
People start to understand. It depends which you are talking about. For the large consumers, to the huge audience, you are correct. They don't really care. And more than that, they will tell us, who's care? I have my Facebook when I'm coming to the restaurant now. After here in Israel, we don't have the pandemic anymore. God help us. And we have the vaccinations, and we have the restaurant open. Everyone report where he is locating now. So why you want me to block it? But maybe it's relevant for individuals, but for organizations. If you have the bank that goes from here to there, and someone want to track where is the money now in order to do something. If you are a commercial business, and you have salespeople that goes to their customer, and the competitor just want to know who you are visiting. It's so easy. It's so easy to find this information. And here you really have a good reason to hide your location, or at least not to expose it just like that.
Yes, it's for so many different, reasons, right? Now, people that control the networks, like, whoever the carriers, whether it's AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, or other companies around the world, they have a certain responsibility, you would think, to protect their networks. But I guess the technology that you have with FirstPoint is taking it a step beyond. And so we started talking a little bit, initially, and then, kind of just want to let people know exactly who you are and your background, because obviously you lend a lot of you have the expertise in this and the background, and you've been doing this a long time. So our audience can understand, hey, this is somebody that you need to listen to, because you're in it all the time. You're dealing with standards, you're dealing with the new technologies like 5G and how to secure this. So if the mobile operators, I would think to a certain extent they are responsible for securing it, but maybe just up to a certain point. What is it that, corporations, individuals, how is it that something like FirstPoint, could they justify saying, okay, well, I need that extra layer of protection. How is this going to help me? And of course, anonymity is a great first step. So let's kind of pick up from there, if you would continue along that.
It's a great idea. It's a very nice way to the discussion. I would like to shortly talk about the cellular operators. The chain of all the components are not only cellular operators. We have the vendors, and in the vendors it's splitted more and more. And the main idea go to the software only, almost no hardware, and you have more and more candidates for that. If in the past you have only 3, 4, and big argues about Chinese equipment, yes or not, in US not, what is going on in Europe, Israel part of this or not.
Like with Huawei, for example?
The Huawei, the TE. The main issue is that the cellular operator cannot be responsible to the security of his network. Why? Because he's implementing the standard. The question goes to the standard. Why me, as a 3GPP guy, are not protecting the network? So all the time, from the 2G up to the 5G, we are all the time improving the security of the network, no doubt. It's an analog of CDMA. You can just clone the devices very easily. You got in the GSM the ciphering and encryption. We have the A3 and A5 algorithms. We have a lot of calculations like the KI, KC, RAND, and SRES, a lot of procedure. And most powerful is the TMC that all the time change. There are many ways that the network protects itself. But the problem is the network itself. Due to the fact that we would like to get service everywhere that we are going to. We don't care. Now, as you said, I'm in Israel, correct, but you just talked with South Africa. I want to travel there. With my own device, I will get the same service. How it works? Due to the fact that all the globe is connected. We have the way to connect between countries. In this case, everyone to connect to each country. Now, a story 4 months ago happened here in Israel. 12 people, all of them subscriber of Orange partner in Israel, 054. That in the business of Bitcoins. At 10 hours, hackers that came from one of the East Europe countries that looks like English guys, drill down all the money from their Bitcoins, empty their Bitcoins. How they did it? They knew that they have time. They tracking things for weeks. They know when they are trying to connect on the web to their Bitcoin. They update the network that they are not in Israel, but in England. The second factor authentication, two-factor authentication, the SMS arrived to UK, to the hackers. They logged on instead of these 12 people, and they cleaned their bank account.
So that's how they got around it, because supposedly Bitcoins are super, super secure and whatnot, but they figured out a way around the security.
So you can find it at CNN, everywhere, and it's done by location. They just update fake location that they are in UK and not in Israel. At UK, it was some kind of MVNO that belongs to these East Europe guys that got the SMS that sent from the device, and they logged instead of them. And it came due to some, they are smart, you know, as you are expert in physical and cyber security, and they are doing their training and learning daily basis. What is the next step? They are very smart. They understood that in this specific network, in their national roaming, there is an issue. And they found the hole and took it out. And this is a way why it's so important for every one of us. Each one of us has in our mobile phone our bank account. We don't want anyone to take our money to his bank account. So this is the first step. You need to protect yourself. So
and everyone now has, you know, you've got your phone and you just basically, you pop it on something and it just reads it. You're not pulling out credit cards or debit cards or cash. We're becoming a cashless society, but you know, everybody's money is really just digital. If you think about it, it's just numbers in a bank account on a computer screen. You know, it's not, we're not holding a lot of cash, most people anymore. I mean, I try to always have some cash on me because you never know.
Cellular Operator. AT&T have no fault here. They are fine. They are providing channel. They are bringing us the barrier. What they can do? Someone from Mexico claims that you are there. How they can know if it's true or not? You cannot blame them on anything. So the cellular operators are really fine. They are fine. But we need to have, as you said, behind them. If we understand the risk and we want, it's relevant for organizations. For individual, again, you don't want anyone to use bank account. I don't have my bank account on my mobile. My wife.
That should tell people right there whether you should have it or not. Right.
You don't know who she is, but I assume that I am some kind of target because people know that I have protection. So they are trying all the time to show, no, he thinks he is protected, but he's definitely not. So I need to take care and to be sure and to be on the safe side. I'm recommending it to everyone, but we want to have life to continue. And this is a way that you can decide what kind of security level you want. And here we can go to the anonymity. So this is the most high priority and high level of security that someone can get.
Because there's a balance, right, between convenience and security. And it's like, where do you find this balance? Because it's going to be different for you, different for me, different for everybody, right? Some of us are going to need a lot more security, and so it's going to be less of a convenience. Other people, they'd rather the convenience and aren't going to care as much about security. But you've got to find that balance and that risk, appetite that you have. Is it, what would happen if something were to occur where your account was compromised and all your money was drained out? Is that going to be a problem? I think everybody's going to say, yes. I don't want to wake up one day, look at my bank account and see zeros there, right? So it's a very interesting that, we all have to sort of individually educate ourselves and then individually figure out what are we willing to give up in the, for the sake of convenience. So that's, now there are all different kinds of attacks. One of the ones that I'm not as familiar with that I was reading about that you have listed here are Imsi Catchers.
Yeah.
And like what location tracking is and malware, but what maybe you could explain to our audience that maybe a term that people aren't as familiar with.
Yeah. So Imsi Catcher, IMSI, it's known as rogue base station as well. Is very old attack, we're talking from the 80s, that is handling as following. Imsi, it's your unique ID on the mobile network, your international mobile subscriber ID.
Right, every phone has that on the barcode there.
Everyone, but you don't know it. No, it's not the IMEI. You have plenty of devices.
Oh, good, right.
IMEI, it's the equipment ID, and we are talking about your unique secret IDs. It's the billing it's done. It's not your MSISDN, the numbers that you are calling.
Okay.
Imsi is something that the operator distribute for his users. And in case that someone nearby you can know what is your Imsi, what he actually is doing is mimicking a fake base station, cellular tower. So in this area, we have plenty of cellular towers, and I have a new one. You can find in YouTube, do it yourself for $7. You can buy in eBay for $2,000. This is the amount. It's not each private inspector, private detector using this kind of device. What he's doing, he's going with a piggyback and operate it. Now, it looks like a legitimate cellular tower. All devices nearby him don't know that he is not legitimate, so he tries to register.
Right.
In order to register, he's trying to register with a temporary number, with a Imsi, but at the end, he needs to identify himself with his Imsi. His Imsi, his unique ID. It's something that we would like to take care. We know that Pete came from this area, and this will be his prefix. And when I will catch him, now I will not release him. I will communicate with him. I said, yes, I'm your network. How are you doing today? And I can send you a flash SMS. I can send you a configuration message, or I can reconnect you to the regular network. And now we take another step of man in the middle. Now this piggyback, this rogue base station, this Imsi Catcher can listen to your call easily. He can read your text message. And as we talked before, he can record your data. He cannot understand it because it's a major part, it's encrypted, but he will continue to record.
So the question then is, how much of a problem is that? Is that something that is happening more? Because if just about anybody can, go online and buy a device that'll do this for a couple $1,000s, they're going to be able to obtain a tremendous amount of data.
I was a guest of the World Bank. I gave a master class 1 year ago, just before the Corona started. And I have a device that identifies Imsi Catcher. The World Bank headquarters is just a few hundred meters from the White House. I personally recognized 5 Imsi Catchers around the White House. And I can tell you a story.
Wow.
4 months ago, during the Corona, during the pandemic crisis, I need to go to one of the African countries for a visit. There was some good reasons to do it, although we have the COVID situation. And when I need to meet the high-level person, at the airport, everything was clean. I didn't find any problematic things. Just when I went out, there was one device like that, but it's very common nearby airports globally. And then immediately I arrived to his headquarters, and I climbed up to the 6th floor, entered to the meeting room, and then my device started alarming. And it was inside the meeting room of very sensitive place. It was amazing. I was sure it was a mistake, false alarm. You don't know. I shut it down. And then this guy asked me, there was a lot of people around him, and they say, well, what is this? What is this? I say, no, he's claiming that there is a fake cell tower, an Imsi Catcher here. And he knows what is Imsi Catcher. Then why you don't think so? I don't know. It's just a first alarm. It's continue again and again. I visit there for 2 hours. I give my pitch and we organize everything. But I know that they're ahead all the time on what had happened at the beginning. At the end of this meeting, he asked me, okay, everything is fine. Find it. Please find the device. I told him, I cannot. I'm a guest. I arrived with this. It looks like that. This is a device. You can see the
catch me if you can.
Catch me if you can. I'm trying to. Okay, this device. I was there, and with this I cannot locate. He told me, "Do me a favor, please do that." I asked him, "Okay, do you have university here nearby?" I went to the lab of the physics department there, took some spectrum analyzers, more heavy equipment, and I asked to go during the night because there is less electromagnetic waves. It's easy to find these things, and you can imagine midnight African countries. The only white guys that we are going, and with a lot of equipment. Right, left, and then I want to go above some kind of a place, and then he asked me, stop. I said, why to stop? He told me, this is the army place. I said, what? I said, here it is, the equipment is there. There is a clash between two parts in this country, that one against the other. And they put the Imsi catching inside this place.
Wow.
And so it's so common. It's really so common. And let's say when you are moving between borders, be sure that you have equipment like that nearby you. If you are a lawyer that dealing with sensitive information of your customers, be sure that the other side operating it. If you are in a high tech and you are a sales guy and you have competition, the other company knows exactly where you are going based on that. Imsi catching is very, very, very common. And the main thing is that there is no much way to protect yourself because your device, by definition, need to register to the antenna. No other way. He wants to get a service. How can he know that this is fake? AT&T has no blame against them. They are fine.
So they could be anywhere within range of the cellular signal. So they could be far away from where they are. You don't have to be real close.
Correct.
That's very scary. So you've educated me. That's something that I was not familiar with.
Can be over the ocean. The guys from East looks like UK and took bitcoins from Israel. Very easy. Only IT commands.
So they're much more widespread than people realize. And so I hope everyone listening understands the implications of something like that, because it's so difficult to combat it. So does the technology that your company FirstPoint have help protect against that?
Yes, and here came the place of changing the identity, the anonymity. Our first patent makes the following. You have your Imsi. This is something that will not go out any case from your device. We are providing each subscriber of us endless identity. Endless identity, the change on the time. It can be changed by policy. If you have, we defined 48 conditions to detect fake cell tower, Imsi Catchers. 48. But it could be that you are going down to the garage, -2. There is no other cells. It's degraded you to 2G technology and no neighbor cells. Okay? It could be no hacking, but at least there is a chance that maybe someone tried to do something for you. And then when we are collecting few conditions together, we are automatically changing your ID. And we have a connection to the backend that verifies whether you are on the network or not on the network. And by hiding your ID and scrambling it all the time, even if the hacker is nearby you and can see you by his eyes, he have no idea who you are because you are changing your ID all the time. Another story for you, 4 months ago, I visited Dubai. We have a new peace agreement. Israel signed a peace agreement with Abraham agreement with the Arab Union. And we got formal invitation to visit them. It was very exciting, very nice, very polite, amazing. Really, you can see the history change in front of your face. Our travel was very famous in Israel because when we went back from Dubai to Israel on our airplane, we had 6 people with coronavirus. And everyone need to go to quarantine. It's a very, these days stories. But what people didn't talk about, that all people on the airplane had another virus on their mobile phone. All the Israeli delegation infected by malware on their device. But one was not infected. It was me. Why? Because I have no Israeli ID. I have my regular phone. My wife and my kids called me to my regular number. But the Imsi, the identity, was from Netherlands. From time to time, I changed myself to be Indian and vice versa, but not Israeli. Not Israeli. So they didn't know that I'm part of this delegation, although I was nearby them. Wow. And I was not infected.
That's all configurable from the interface.
Yes, you can define what kind of identity you want to get.
That's really cool. I want it. So people that are traveling internationally or, that are dealing with sensitive data or, going into sensitive facilities, I mean, this is a no-brainer. I mean, you need this technology.
That's amazing. I agree with you. And this is a way that we are protecting against this attack. We cannot stop the Imsi catching. Someone comes with a piggyback nearby you. You cannot do anything against it. But we can detect, we can alert, and we can inform both sides, the device, as well as the CISO of your organization, that someone is trying to catch you. He will not succeed because you're changing your ID. But sometimes he's just putting a noise over the air, jamming, and you cannot have any service. Okay, so in this case, you have a denial of service. In order to go out from this kind of attack, you need to go to different band. If he is blocking 5G, let's go to 4G. If he is blocking 1.8, let's go to 900. He cannot block everything. He needs endless power. It's not, unless you are a country. Against country, it's more complicated, but we have other tools to protect against countries. But this is not our business. I don't want to argue with countries or governments. This is not my. I was in the past not interesting to be there.
But that is something that I did want to ask you though. Is so how does a country deal with these types of attacks? Because they're always looking to get the upper hand and know what their competition or their adversaries are up to. So how, do the nations that are using these networks deal with those sorts of people that are trying to hack and eavesdrop on the conversations that are going on, in certain companies or in certain government offices and that sort of thing, that they need this sort of technology as well, but you don't want to really deal with them because of obviously the bigger implications, right?
This is correct. And we are working with the World Bank for a very long period of time, and we already published several papers, and it goes through different levels. In the country level, national level, you have the police and the army and the government, and you have the civil side, let's say the cyber authority. They don't, it's important to be protected against your enemies, no doubt. And you have the ways to do that. But you want to be sure that the electricity and the water in your country are safe. You want to be sure that the companies in your country, the banks, critical things in your country are safe, although they're using cellular technology. For that, we are publishing from time to time recommendations, what it needs to be done in order to be protected. Now, as you said, very, very, very clear and clever, fully protection, don't use mobile phone. But we want to use mobile phone, okay? So for very sensitive places, please don't come with your mobile phone, leave it out. Don't use it if you are traveling to another country and you don't want that anyone will know that you are traveling there, don't come with your mobile phone. What you can do. But if you are
unfortunately, most people, that's not an option, right?
Exactly. On the other side, the issue is to do the optimum, the epsilon that you are ready to pay in order to be secured enough to continue your life. And this is exactly what we are doing. We are building a mitigation for each sector. In these days, we are working very hard. We already sent the first draft for electricity companies in the Balkan, how to keep the all supply chain of the electricity, producing the electricity, the transmission, OT, DT, all aspects from different angles, different point of view. And we are providing recommendation for each organization what we should do in order to keep all our information safe and to have all the time continuation in supply of the electricity in each area, in each country.
And now you can even electricity can be hacked, right? Because you can put a device in and out.
In Ukraine, it's happened very recently. And in these days, especially in Europe, when you have one place that generate and produce a lot of electricity, and there is no need, you need to transfer it to another country. And the recommendations, the standards are not the same. And hackers using that and trying to drop down the network for other countries by oversupplying. It's amazing story. We really have a deep documents that we just send to the client countries. We are waiting for their feedback, but this is only one example for the questions that you just asked.
Now, what about the use of things like a VPN? Because there's VPN software available for cell phones. I use it when I get on a network that is not a home network at a customer or something, and I'll start the VPN connection up to give me some additional security. I guess my question is, how good is that versus what are the problems with that are still risks when you're using a VPN connection?
Yeah, very good question, and it's good that you are doing something in order to protect yourself. The jokes that my father taught me many years ago, that two guys plan to travel to the jungle, and there is a huge cheetah in this jungle that eats the people there. And one of the friends start to exercise, to run, and his friend asked him, "What are you doing? Why you are doing that? The cheetah, it's running much faster than you. Whatever you will practice, she will catch you easily." He answered him, "I don't need to run faster than the cheetah. I need to run faster than you."
Yep, I knew that was coming.
And if you're using a VPN, it's a good start. Let's go to the easier places to hack. But let's imagine there is a country in the world that everyone knows, very, very large country, that cannot use WhatsApp in their country, okay? But if you are buying a VPN, somehow you can use WhatsApp, okay? What do you think? This country cannot control this VPN? Are they stupid? Are they dumb? No. They want to narrow it and to control it somehow. Even if you are using a VPN, there is, I can think now about 8 ways to reroute your data to me. No problem. Definitely no problem. It depends how much you want to invest, what is the challenge, and if you are a target, you are my target, VPN will not help you. And you cannot imagine that countries that allowing VPNs to be operate are not protecting themselves against that, okay? So we should not be naive. Life are more complicated, but the question is, do we have better solution for that? And for data protection, there are good solutions. You had a few interviews, very interesting interviews in your show before, and they are doing amazing work. FirstPoint, offering another level of protection on data as well. If you can imagine Checkpoint, that using firewall, let's imagine that now we are building tailor-made firewall per organization or per device. We have a bank, the World Bank. They have more than 5,000 employees, and we can split them to groups, the IT groups, the project groups, the money, the loans, and so on. You can build policy on the data protection per group, and then inside the group, per individuals. And then this can be done based on the networks that you are connected to. You can be on 3G using GGSN. You can go to 4G using the packet gateway, or you can go to the DN, to the data network. It's a 5G. Each one of them has his own channel. For example, I will give a LMU L2TP. This is a protocol that you can just make a screening and clean based on your organization. The CISO on your organization will clean all the data that comes to your device that will not infect you at all. Again, nothing on your device, only based on the network. And here we are talking about switching of the network. So
now 5G obviously is what we're seeing. They're pushing all over the place. I have a new phone that's got 5G. I haven't been super impressed with the speed when I've been doing some speed tests when I've been around with it. They're talking gigabit speeds. I've seen maybe 250 meg down max. In my travels, I travel around a bunch. But 5G is supposed to be really secure. What are some of the limitations of 5G? Just the same limitations that have really been around with older technologies, because you can still intercept the data as it's coming through, such as with an Imsi Catcher?
I'm sorry to tell you, Pete, but you are correct, yes. 5G technology, as was in 4G and 3G, there is improvement from 4G. For example, in the identity, you just mentioned the Imsi Catcher. In order to prevent Imsi catching attack, they add a new 2 identities. It's called Suki and Supi. It's encrypted identities that belongs to an individual device, and much more complicated to extract it out. Okay, Suki and Supi. After 2 months already, we are talking about more than 1 year ago, there is a new attack named Torpedo. Torpedo attack, it's Imsi Catcher for 5G. What he's doing is operating paging against the device, many paging, and by discriminating the paging response, he knows the Suki, Supi, and the Imsi. So the network make another step to encrypt and makes the network better, but the hacker didn't wait even a minute. And we have a torpedo. Torpedo, it's a new Imsi Catcher for 5G. So we are in the same. On the data, it's easier because no big change here. On 5G, we need to have a special discussion about that. What are the motivation for this network of high bandwidth, many devices, at the IoT, critical infrastructure, and so on. But the main idea of it is to have much better radio, nothing to deal with the data in the core network, and this is much more risky, to provide you much more options to operate your radio. Not only millimeter waves, this is a new radio technology of 5G, but you can use Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and use the mobile nearby you that now in idle in order to get the data to your device. So we are breaking the symmetry against the tower, against the BTS, the node B. Mm-hmm. In this case, we have much more risk because you can mimic yourself as a Wi-Fi now, and the mobile will connect you as you are part of the 5G network, and you are not a real part of this site. It's really
it's wild. So we're flying through our hours. I said we would. What I do want to do here, we'll talk about a few other things, but I want to just pop over, and for those of our watchers or listeners, you should see now the website for FirstPoint up there, and if you're not and you're just listening to the podcast, you can go to FirstPoint-M as in Mary, G as in golf.com. And that's secure, so it's HTTPS. Of course, I would expect nothing less. Secure site, right? But it's very interesting because I did go through the website and read about some of the technologies, and that's what I was reading about, the anonymity part of this. But it's very, very interesting. You can request a demo here and basically learn how you can protect the subscribers in your company from being hacked and protect things. So I encourage everybody to go and take a look at this. Any company that is looking for the next really generation of protection that utilizes a way to protect your network, to protect things at the network level and not have to worry about, people installing apps on their devices and keeping those apps updated. And as the professor mentioned, you're pulling, battery, you're draining battery, you're using resources, you're taking up storage space, you're taking up RAM, and those things are precious commodities, especially on phones. Yes, they're getting better. You can increase the capacities. My new S21 here has got, 256 gig of storage. That's one of the reasons I upgraded, because the old trusty S7 was crying for more room. But of course, having a 5G phone will be interesting. But, go to the solutions, looking at different things. There's stuff for defense. And of course, the IoT devices, they are very, very susceptible to attack. And, so very important to learn how that you can protect these devices using this technology. And again, it runs the whole range from 2G to 5G. And I'm assuming it'll handle things when we go to 6G or whatever the next generation happens to be. So future proofing is important, and having the ability to manage things centrally is wild. For those that are interested, where would you recommend they do? Is request a demo first to really understand the technology, Professor, or just kind of go through the Learning Center, maybe read about it a little bit?
Blog. It's the best to start with our blog. We have we invest a lot of time and thought about how to teach and how to work, and we have a lot of information. Really, we want to be a center of knowledge and to teach everyone in order to take care, to make the world as a better place. And the first priority is to look on our blogs, and then definitely to connect us, ask for a demo, looking on the YouTube channel. We will be happy to continue this interesting discussion.
Yeah, blog has some excellent articles. Talking about the top threats and, the different solutions for the IoT devices. And so you really, I did take a quick look over this, just the sort of the headlines of some of this stuff. I'm going to have to come back when I have some time and read some of these, because, it's for anybody that is in the field of information technology security, for anyone that is in the role of a CTO, CISO, CSO at a company, you need to be learning about this sort of technology as an additional way to protect, your employees, your data, your network from attack. And we're all, very susceptible today. We're tied to our devices. We can't live without them, right? So it's very interesting. So definitely a lot of great information here, as I said, and you can find you on in a company on LinkedIn by searching your name, and as also FirstPoint Mobile. And as I said, the website's firstpoint-mg.com, and of course YouTube. So a lot of stuff. So we'll stop sharing that here and bounce back for a minute. But really great website. I think it's got a lot of great information there that people are really going to be able to educate themselves and learn a lot more about it. Obviously, you've been doing this a long time. You're at the cutting edge of this stuff, and that's what I love about having this show and bringing people like yourself on to learn about new technologies and to find out how do we protect ourselves, because that's what it's all about, right? Safety and security.
So thank you very much for your kind words. I'm really happy to hear that, and we really want to make the world a better place. This is our mission.
So I will. So let's ask a couple of final questions here. So, what are your predictions for cellular security and the increased, I guess, likelihood of cyber attacks going forward over the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
It's a near future. You don't ask me to guess what we're going to be in the far future. It's really complicated.
Here's your crystal ball.
It's not happened yet. As it's happened on the IT, and no one can imagine himself without a firewall. No one. If you don't have firewall, immediately some computer will find it's open and dig your information and block your computer. The same is going to be happen at the cellular technology, but it's not will goes beginning at devices. I believe it will goes to the critical infrastructure. I believe that we need to be focused on the services that we would like to provide to our citizens, to the people, and to build a correct way and ecosystem to protect it. And we will find more and more. It's happened all the time, but we will hear more and more about events like hacking electricity, water, gas, and we will find more and more legitimate and standard ways to protect it. And as checkpoints selling, or all the competitors selling firewalls, we will build the cellular firewalls to this 5G IoT. And soon we will go, maybe we will not have the right and the time to do it during the 5G, but at the 6G, we will have a new level of encryption. And the quantum computation, it's something that really goes to be happened, not in 3 years, it's too close. It's short time, but in longer term, we are talking about not A3 and A8 algorithms. We will talk about quantum algorithms that will provide better protection to the data. Again, location and identity, it will continue. But the war and the argues will be around how can we understand what you are sending over these channels. And it will continue. This is our life. We will try to be better, the hacker will be better, and we will become better. And, like for software engineers, they are daily life. Hacking, this is my daily life.
And it's, the new sort of battlefield is cyberspace. Wars are not going to be fought in the traditional sense going forward, because other countries, smaller countries, don't have the same military resources in terms of, assets and troops as some of the larger countries. But in cyberspace, kind of the playing field gets leveled between all of these different actors, because they can infiltrate networks and, deliver payloads that are designed to, whether it's, disrupt, electric grids, or, have problems with water. I mean, we just had a recent issue with a hacker that got into a water treatment plant. I can't remember what it was, but they screwed up the concentrations of some chemical that, basically they caught it, but it's one more way to really illustrate and understand that something like disrupting water supply or contaminating it, that has huge effects. And of course, electricity, we can't live without it. Everything in our lives depends on it. You can't pump gas out of the ground without it. You can't get access to your money without it. You can't have a conversation like you and I are having right now without it. And so it's the threats of the future are scary. And any way that we can try to stay one step ahead of the cyber criminals is a good thing. And technologies like FirstPoints are a fantastic way to really start to do that and add it to the firewalls and the other network security and policies and processes and everything else that you have in place. Because as you mentioned, Professor, the minute new technology comes out and you think it's great, well, next thing you know, the hackers are right there saying, how can we exploit it? How can we get into it? How can we, do what we're trying to do and steal data and money and everything else. So any last tips for our listeners about mobile device security before I let you go here?
Yes, I think one important tip, don't use unsecured Wi-Fi local networks. If you are going to a coffee shop and you are not sure, although it's very, let's say it's try to convince you, used me, don't use this Wi-Fi network. This is the main source to hack devices and later on leak out your data. Try to eliminate use unknown Wi-Fi public networks. One tip, but it's really important. Keep it in your mind.
And even if you do, probably not a bad idea to put some VPN software on that phone too. I know that's what I do. So, well, if your listeners are interested in learning more about Professor Dror Fixler or FirstPoint Mobile Guard, you can check out their website, as I mentioned, firstpoint-mg.com. You can also look up Professor on LinkedIn. I'll be sure to post links in the description to the video and in the podcast as well. So it's fantastic. Really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule. I'm sure it is. You're doing lots of great things.
It's a break during the day. We have people here that are waiting for me, but I so enjoy it. So someone is taking tweets. I'm good.
Absolutely. So don't forget to like and share and subscribe, everybody out there, and get the latest safety information. Go to safetytalkpodcast.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts, also safetytalkvideos.com. So until next time, everybody, please stay safe.